So we are very excited for day 2 of Global Plant Forward. We would like to thank Oatly and Puma One Foods USA for sponsoring the delicious breakfast. If you would, let's. And I think that's one of the nicest things about these conferences is people always complain about conference food, but you don't have to do that at the CIA. So thank you there. We also wanted to say good morning and welcome to our CIA students from our Farm to Table program who, So they're joining us today from Greystone with Chef Kadan. Okay, great. So welcome. And you know, these are your future employees, so they've got their chef's coats on, so make sure you say hello. And so today we're going to talk about fresh mushrooms. Mushrooms are highly nutritious and grow quickly, making them an important part of an increasingly plant-based menu for consumers looking for a healthier, more sustainable diet. A highly versatile ingredient, one might find mushrooms as a base for a caffeine-free tea or coffee, and chanterelles, shiitake, and portobellos have even found their way into craft beer. This January, mushrooms were named as Ingredient of the Year in the New York Times, and they are the official ingredient of Earth Month, which is happening right now. The potential for incorporating a variety of fresh mushrooms into menu R&D is something that our next presenter, Chef Spike Mendelsohn, will talk about and show and demonstrate. A self-described kitchen rat who grew up in the restaurant business, CIA alum Chef Spike Mendelsohn has a culinary career that has spanned 3 decades and includes work for luminaries such as Thomas Keller. You may know him from television shows such as Top Chef and Iron Chef America, and he's opened several successful and innovative plant-forward fast casual restaurants such as Good Stuff Eatery, and most recently Plant Burger and Eat the Change, co-founded with Seth Goldman. Lastly, as his success has grown, he's doubled down on food advocacy, working on behalf of organizations such as the DC Food Policy Council, Food Policy Action, and the James Beard Foundation's Chef Action Network, pushing for solutions to issues such as food waste and hunger, and educating the public on food choices that lessen climate change. I am pleased to welcome Chef Spike Mendelsohn.
Over here. Okay, good. Perfect. Oh, here. Sorry about that. I missed the actual intro part. I was just talking. Hey, everybody, how's it going? Happy Earth Month. Yes. So very, very happy to be here. I haven't been back here for quite some time. It's been a very busy decade for me, opening a ton of restaurants. But, I was able to visit Yountville yesterday, go to Bouchon, which I was really happy about. Kind of going down memory lane a little bit over here. So, so today's Earth Month. We're going to celebrate the Fungi Kingdom. And I'm going to be able to share some recipes and, a little bit of a story on how I got involved in plant-based foods, really. We can just get into the slides. So my incredible edible journey. I met, before I met Seth, I guess I'll give you a little context here. I had opened a ton of restaurants, bistros, hamburger places, pizzerias, taquerias in the DC area. I hadn't really delved into plant-based foods at all at that point in my time. But I was always involved in some type of policy. I did chair the Food Policy Council on behalf of Mayor Bowser, and what that was a piece of legislation for DC for local food policy on how to improve it. And it was really kind of an umbrella piece of legislation to incorporate all the really great food policy that was happening in DC and take into account sustainable agriculture, urban farming, small businesses, and food deserts. So I always had this kind of food policy part of what I did. And it wasn't until I met Seth Goldman that I was really able to kind of dive into the plant-based foods and concepts. So Seth and I met on a panel in 2017 at George Washington University. I knew Seth from Honest Tea. Do you guys drink Honest Tea? You guys, Honest Tea? So he was one of the founders of Honest Teas, one of the first organic, less sweet beverages on the market. And he was also chairman of the board for Beyond Meat. How many of you are familiar with Beyond Meat or Impossible Burgers? Yeah, absolutely. So Seth and I were on a policy panel together, and he snuck a cooler of Honest Tea and Beyond Meat burgers under my chair and said, hey, I heard you are the Burger King. Why don't you take these home and try to cook them up for me? At that point, I had won Rachel Ray's Burger Bash a number of times. I beat Bobby Flay on burgers. Beat Bobby Flay. All right. Just like to have some fun with that. And Seth didn't know actually that my wife was vegan. And one of the things that we always struggled at home was burger night, right? Where she'd usually get like a black bean burger or some type of frozen burger, and it wasn't really that delicious for her. She wasn't really looking forward to the burger moment at home. So I took these Beyond Burgers back home. I grilled them up, cooked them, and I was just fascinated on how well the protein actually caramelized. It had a little bit of a Maillard reaction. It bled, right? It kind of rested with the beet juice, and my mind was kind of just blown on the texture and everything of it. So I emailed Seth. I was like, Seth, you got an amazing product here. I'd like to dive in a little bit deeper and learn more about Beyond Meat and see where we can go. So at that point, Seth wasn't really ready to take on another venture, but he did have me get involved with Beyond Meat. So I launched their Beyond Sausage at Whole Foods when that came to market. And slowly but surely, I started developing a relationship with Seth and learning more about plant-based foods. Finally, Seth gave me a call back and said, hey, I'm about to resign from Honest Tea, and we're going to IPO Beyond Meat, and I'm looking to be back in startup mode. So this is kind of what started my venture into the plant-based foods. So I convinced Seth to take a risk with me and an opportunity to open up a plant-based burger shop, which is called Plant Burger. We opened up 2 months before the pandemic, our first restaurant, and lucky enough for us, we actually grew to 10 restaurants during the pandemic. And the reason why is we were inside Whole Foods, so we were deemed essential. We were really lucky in that way. And that's kind of what busted open my plant-based ventures. When I started opening the restaurant, I started seeing plant-based cheese that can melt, and mushrooms obviously came to the forefront of that, which is where we're getting to now. Food innovators are positioned at the intersection of 3 mega trends, which will continue to scale now. This is kind of the way we look at our 2 new startups, right? We have a fast casual restaurant that is 100% plant-based, and we also have a CPG company, which is called Eat the Change. So what you see here is the rise of snacking, right, is happening right now. We're either eating food on the go, taking Zoom calls and snacking at our office, snacking in our car. Snacking is at an all-time high in the industry, right? And then you see that intersects with the increasing eco-anxiety, which is a new term out there, right? I don't know if you guys have used that term before, but there's this idea of climate change, right? And one of the things that affects climate change the most is our food system, right? How we grow food, how we transport food, what we eat, what we decide to plant. So many people don't know that climate change isn't tangible for everybody because it gets a little nerdy, it gets a little scientific. But one thing that we like to introduce, you can take matters into your own hands, and where you put your dollars and where you spend your money can have a really effect on our food system, right? I always tell people you can vote every 2 years, every 4 years on elected officials. Hopefully they'll do something. But one thing for sure is you can take matters into your own hands, right? And then mainstreaming of plant-based foods, right? So that is on the rise. We're seeing a massive shift in our food system right now on what we grow. Just look at, for instance, milk, right? All the plant-based milks on the rise: oat milk, barley milk, almond milk, all sorts of different styles of milks, replacing a lot of dairy right now. So this is kind of where we play that small little triangle in between these 3 things right here. This is kind of where I like to live and play with these 2 new startups. Any questions out there? Nope. If you do, please just feel free to raise your hand. We'll keep it nice and low-key here. So our sourcing story. So for Eat the Change, Eat the Change was a slogan for Plant Burger. It was Eat the Change you wish to see in the world. It was a very powerful slogan for our burger place, right? Obviously a play off of a Gandhi quote. Seth and I loved that quote so much. We thought it was so powerful that we decided to open up a sister company called Eat the Change, right? And Eat the Change is interesting because what we deal with at Eat the Change is snacks, obviously, but there's nothing processed. We like to look at this company as whole foods. So we produce snacks that are in their native form is what we like to say, right? So nothing actually processed. I call this procedure the undoing of the food system, right? Where a lot of the foods that we eat are processed, right? This one, for me, is undoing it, getting back to basics. So one of our first product lines was mushroom jerky. And we had visited this farm in Kenneth Square, Pennsylvania, which is the mushroom capital of the world. They supply about over 50% of the mushrooms across the United States, especially brown mushrooms like portobellos, creminis. They do a lot of shiitakes and buttons, but they also specialize in lion's mane and oysters, which we'll introduce and talk about a little bit later on. But while I was visiting the farm, which I always like to head to the source, the mycologist Tina there was really inspiring me. She was showing me all sorts of different waste products that don't go to market. And one that we'll show you here, I'll give you a little sneak peek, is I'm sure you guys are all familiar with yellow oyster mushrooms, right? Those beautiful oyster mushrooms that you see in the market. Well, this is the root ball that the oyster mushrooms come from, right? And this root ball usually gets just tossed and thrown away, or it gets composted, right? One or the other. But while I was at the farm, and that's why it's so important to meet your farmers and head out there and talk to them, Tina was just making jokes. She's like, hey, I take these home because they're perfectly edible. They're the most nutritious part of the mushroom. And I like to cook them up like fried chicken or crab cakes, right? So my mind went wild. I was like, what are you talking about, Tina? She's like, yeah, these are really great and highly nutritious. So I took some home and we recreated a fried chicken sandwich for Plant Burger, one of our fast casual restaurants. And we'll demo that a little later on today. So again, a couple facts about mushrooms. I mean, listen, they're, apart from being, such a great utility and blank canvas for chefs, right? They're delicious and nutritious and rich in vitamins B and N3. So organic mushrooms. Yeah, and all our mushrooms we source is 100% organic, which is really important as well. Here's a couple pictures. The other thing I love about mushrooms, and while I was going to the farm, you might get a kick out of this, is, well, once these mushrooms were listening to Spanish music the entire time I was there, by the way. So they were, I call these the salsa-ing mushrooms, because I went to the farm, salsa music was just blaring, and I was able to see how sustainable mushrooms are actually to grow. They're probably the most sustainable crop in the world to grow. They're very water efficient, right? They encompass a lot of upcycling, so a lot of the waste gets reconstituted into compost for the next batch. And then they're very efficient for vertical farming, right? So you can't see it here, but these rows are about 10 to 12 rows high in this warehouse, right? So you could just picture that, just massive, very efficient on space and water. Here's some of the cremini mushrooms. And I'll talk a little bit about how I crafted these. So, we resource 100% organic mushrooms. We use the imperfect mushrooms, if you will, right? So when I went to the farm, I realized that there's a lot of mushrooms that don't make it to the market. They don't make it to retail. They're either bruised stem or caps, or really large portobellos that don't fit the SKU, or what have you. So the imperfect ones are actually perfect for me because we make jerky out of them. So we kind of rescue all that kind of stuff and use it for us. We have 5 different marinades that we make for the mushrooms, right? We have a habanero, a teriyaki ginger, a smokehouse, maple mustard. And all these we marinate, and we actually smoke with real hickory smoke, right? We don't take any shortcuts. We're not adding liquid smoke, none of that stuff, right? You should have seen me when I went to a jerky house for the first time with 10,000 pounds of mushrooms, and they just looked at me like, wait, what are you doing here? Because they're used to processing meat so much. So it was pretty interesting, but we pulled it off. So we're able to marinate these, smoke this with real hickory smoke wood, and then dehydrate. So our chef-crafted approach, obviously, is to create memorable and craveable experiences, design unique flavor profiles to showcase each ingredient, cultivate personal relations with the farmers, leverage culinary expertise to ensure depth of flavor, color, and texture, and of course, advocate for the planet and better food system. Food should be a right, not a privilege. That's one of the things I always talk about, especially dealing with food policy in DC. Yes? Yeah, of course. Please ask as many questions as you want.
You said about scaling, and your first round you bring in 10,000 pounds of mushrooms.
Well, great question. And I have to tell you, I've gone 3 years full of just mushroom co-packers and sourcing. So yes, it's not as easy as you would imagine. Especially in 2021, we had a brown mushroom shortage. I don't know if you guys were feeling that here, but there was a lot of rain and a lot of the compost got ruined. So there was actually, a shortage in mushrooms. So what we did, and I'm happy you brought this up, is, I had always kind of ignored the white button mushroom. I was using, like I said, the imperfect ones, all the portobellos and the creminis. But once the brown mushroom shortage happened, I started to have to do some R&D testing with white buttons. So right now, our mix for our mushroom jerky are 3 different varieties. It's a third, a third, a third. It's portobellos, cremini, and white button mushrooms that actually work quite well in jerky making. And that's kind of how, I've solved for that. But, have a really, relationship with your farmers are really important, and we have a really good one with Kenneth Square and our relationship there. The other cool thing I'll tell you about, you set out, for those, our chefs out here, and you may go into CPG, you may go do a restaurant, you may do all these things, it wasn't so easy. I thought I was going to walk into mushroom jerky, and it was going to be such an easy thing for me. We were resourcing fresh mushrooms, right? You'll get a kick out of this, because this is how we turned a business from not being profitable into being a profitable business. We were buying fresh mushrooms that had all that water content, and for those who don't know, mushrooms are about 95, 98% full of water. And we were shipping them to our co-packer. So we were shipping them and getting charged for all that water weight, right? And then the co-packer would receive them, and we'd mix them with marinade. And then before they go in the oven, they would weigh them, and they would charge us for the weight. Again, for the water rate, now the marinade weight. And then they would go in the oven, and mushrooms are 98% less water, so there was no yield, right? So we would, out of all this stuff that we were getting charged on, there was no yield. So it wasn't until I actually figured out that I should be dehydrating my mushrooms first at the farm at a fraction of the tolling, right? Then I'm not shipping water across the United States to my co-packer. So our mushroom jerky actually is a fresh mushroom. We dehydrate it bone dry ourselves. Then we ship it now, and it gets received by a co-packer, rehydrated, so we make water work for us now, marinated and dried, and it took it from negative 40% margins to positive 30% margins. So thanks for that question. Very notable. So mushrooms, your EarthMart partner, obviously. I'm happy to be here and with the support of the CIA and the Mushroom Council, and this is what it's all about. Guys, the last slide. Climate change is real, so is our power to act. Our choices about what we eat represent our single biggest daily opportunity to change environmental footprint. Eat the Change combines marketplace solutions with education and activism to empower consumers to make dietary choices aligned with their concerns about climate and health. So without further ado, I'm just going to dive into cooking now. You guys good with that? Yeah, let's go. This is the jerky? Yeah. Great, awesome. So, great, we're gonna start with, how many are familiar with the lion's mane? Yeah, great mushroom. I was lucky enough to be traveling through Pennsylvania after I visited the farm, and actually went foraging and found some lion's mane myself. I'm not sure if there's any mushroom foragers out there in the crowd, but finding lion's mane is like the jackpot, right? You go out there, you actually find it. I was so excited. I got inspired to do a recipe with it. So one of the things about lion's mane is that people often say that there's a little bit of a fishy flavor to it, right? I don't really get that. I'm not sure if you guys do. I never got that. I get the texture. If you add something different to it, maybe you'll get that fishy, but I never looked them at as a fishy mushroom. But they are very versatile, and they're very nutritious. They're also very good for your cognitive ability, right? So really good for the mind. So we take some of these, and one of the recipes that I wanted to do was a crab cake. So as you can see, the lion's mane right here, they're really cute. Some are a little furrier than others. Sometimes we offer little gerbils here. But we like to just kind of break them apart, just like lump crab meat. Just the same exact size, just like that. So we're going to take these in the bowl right now, and we're going to add a little bit of olive oil to the pan. And what I like to do, again, we mentioned that these mushrooms have a lot of water in them. So in order to make this crab cake, I do a first saute on them, right? So we're just going to go ahead and add them to the pan. And what you'll see is that a lot of the moisture is going to come out of them. So again, some of these bigger pieces I'm just going to take here, and again, doesn't it look like lump crab meat? It's kind of crazy, right? So do that. We're going to add a little bit more olive oil to start sauteing, and we're going to season with a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. Okay, don't season too much because there'll be plenty of seasoning afterwards. I don't have to tell you guys, I always season in between stages, build those layers of flavors. Okay, no salt bang around here in the CIA copia. Okay, I don't want to see any salt bang. All right, that's unsanitary, everybody. Anyway, so we're going to sear these. It's a light sear, right? We don't want too much color. It doesn't matter if some happens. But again, just a little light sear there. And then we're going to get the rest of our, where's the larger bowl? There, perfect. So what I like to do is we've all heard of maybe even jackfruit being a replacement for crab cakes, right? Jackfruit crab cake. So the idea for me is sometimes jackfruit's a little bit too acidic for me just to make a complete crab cake out of it. So I like mixing it with some of this lion's mane. I think it gives it a really great texture, and they really play off of each other, right? So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and add a little bit of the shredded jackfruit in here. Look at that! I love this. I never get this at home. Just boom, a little bit of diced red pepper, a little celery, some red onion, some of these aromatics. Add a little bit of capers in here. Bada bing, a little bit of dried thyme, a little bit of pepper. Bam, a little bit of mustard. Let's get it all in there. These perfect little measurements over here. Lemon juice. And then I think we have mayonnaise here. You could use, dairy-free mayonnaise as well if you'd like. Follow Your Heart is a great brand out there that we love to use. We use Follow Your Heart for a lot of our aiolis and our preparations at Plant Burger. So I'm just going to mix. I like to mix all the aromatics first a little bit with the jackfruit, and I like to fold in the lion's mane. I don't want to break it up too much, so I like to do this first. Got a little bit of soy in here. What was this bad boy again? A little onion powder. See, I forget my own ingredients. A little onion powder, a little garlic, and a little panko in here. Just a little panko. You could toast your panko if you want. You don't have to. All right, so look, here, I think you guys could see this. Can you guys see this somewhere? Oh, right over there. Oh, look, right over there. Okay, great. So we're kind of shocking this a little bit, right? Just trying to get the water evaporate. We have a little bit of color here. We're going to go ahead and taste one to see how we're doing on seasoning with a tasting spoon. Everybody, tasting spoons. It's been a while. We'll do a little bit more seasoning there. Throw away that tasting spoon. I remember those tasting spoons in classroom. All right, here we go. A little bit more pepper, a little bit more seasonings. Oh yeah, finger spoon, yeah. So there we go. This looks good. So what we're gonna do is, I don't mind that it's warm. So we're just gonna throw it back in there, turn the heat off. And what we'll do is we're gonna just let this cool for a second. All right, we're gonna let it cool. We're gonna hop to another recipe. Any questions about the preparation of lion's mane crab cakes right now? Anybody out there? Nope? You got pretty good. All right, so this recipe, which we're gonna start, is a mushroom bolo. I have two really, what I like to say are somewhat innovative recipes. The lion's mane crab cake. We're gonna do the fried chicken sandwich after this one. This one's a little bit more down the straight and narrow, and it's really showcases the usage of brown mushrooms, which I love to promote, right? So we use portobellos, creminis in here. What we'll do is a little bit of olive oil. And this recipe is my 5-year-old's favorite. We love to mushroom bolo at the house. And again, part of what I do specifically is, sometimes there's barrier to entries in the plant-based food space, right? So what I really love to do, and what we do really great with Plant Burger is, we're a burger shack, right? That's what Plant Burger is. It's a burger shack. It's a greasy, indulgent, delicious burger shack, right? There's mayonnaise, there's dipping sauces, there's fries. We use Oatly to make our tasty milkshakes. Thank you, Oatly. What a great soft serve product you have. But again, it's about the indulgence with Plant Burger. And 85% of our clientele are not plant-based or vegans, which is kind of surprising, right? If you look at the facts, right? So if we were to build a business only trying to focus on vegans and vegetarian, it wouldn't really be a great business plan, right? Because you got to have kind of critical mass. So what we like to do is we like to offer America's favorite foods, and it's a little bit of, an easy entry way because people love burgers. And if we can get them to look at a burger in a plant-based way, I think we're doing our job there. So that is what happens with Plant Burger. But even just to take that mentality with some of your favorite foods at home, right? I love a good bolo. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not vegan or vegetarian, I'm flexitarian. Anybody know that term, flexitarian? So fancy, finally I have a term to describe my diet. What that basically means is, I'm a lot more conscious of what I eat and where I eat it from when it comes to meat protein, right? So if chicken or beef or pork, I'll make sure that I know the farm that it comes from. And those moments in my life become that much more enjoyable because I'm not just eating meat from anywhere, right? So I have a lot more plant-forward foods in my diet, more than I ever had before. And I think really that's a great balance to have in life. So this one, although I still eat regular bolo, every once in a while we like to switch it up and make a mushroom bolo. So what we do is take these portobellos and we sweat them out. Again, we try to get that moisture out. I put a little olive oil in here. They're cubed. And you want to get a nice sear on them, right? You want to get a really nice caramelization. I add some of the onions halfway. I'm going to add a little bit of the garlic in here. Boom. A little bit of the thyme, just for aromatics. Gonna add some chili flakes, a lot of chili flakes. What's this? Right, okay, yeah. That's a little vino, we'll get to that next, a little olive oil. And then in this recipe, our mushroom jerky, we love it just as a snack, but since it's a chef-crafted brand, we also introduce many ways of cooking with it. And that's what's so cool about mushrooms. It's almost like you can dehydrate, you can reconstitute, you can dehydrate again, you can reconstitute again. They're so versatile and so much fun. It's no wonder that they're on the #1 list of the hottest new ingredients. So right here, this is a sea salt and pepper jerky that we produced. We're just gonna go ahead and add it into the mix here. It's gonna add a little depth of flavor, a little sweetness to the bolo as well, and some different textures. We've been using our jerky also to make awesome mushroom ramen, for instance. Again, really, really versatile product, especially when you start to have fun with all the flavors. We've done chili with it, baked beans, all sorts of good stuff. All right, so this is life right here. I love this. This is caramelizing. It's seasoned. Smells delicious. We're gonna go ahead, add a little bit of parsley in there. We're gonna deglaze. Oh, you got that already? Oh, look at that. Switch out. Boom. All right. That's how fast it happened, guys. So we got this deglazing happening here with a little bit of white wine. All right, you gotta have the vino in the bolo. We put some of those fresh basil in there. This delicious. Oh, a little bit of that parsley in there that I put somewhere I wasn't supposed to. Use that spatula. Again, make sure, I grew up in French kitchens. You got to get everything out of the bowl. Nothing goes to waste. Less dishes to make. And that's it. We're going to let this stew. I don't have to tell you, the longer, slower you let this go, the more depth of flavors that will happen. This tastes really awesome the next day also, even probably better, as you guys know, right? So we're just going to let that cook down. And then we got another swap. this is amazing. What some swap game. So this is the finished product. As you can see, looks like a bolo, must be a bolo, tastes like a bolo, right? It's got that nice mushroom caramelization in there. We're gonna take our penne pasta, just give it a little reheat. Just really quick, just throw it in there. Spin it around, do a little drainage, and then I'm just gonna add right into the pot. Beautiful, just like that. Adding a little bit of that liquid in there is nice. It's got a little, the starches from the pasta. Again, we're gonna just toss this up, fold it in there. I like using penne because all that mushroom bits get inside the penne, creates a really delicious bite. Again, pretty easy recipe to execute, but really delicious. And again, incorporating mushrooms instead of beef. It's a great swap out. You know, we have this incredible planet challenge that Eat the Change does every year. We've done it 2 years in a row. So we look at Earth Day and leading up to it as Earth Month. So what we do with Eat the Change is we come out with this calendar and we challenge people in their daily routines just to switch up the routines and incorporate more plant-based things in their diet. So one day, for instance, it'll be swap out your dairy creamer for a plant-based creamer, right? Just simple things like that. Another one would be, you know, go into your refrigeration using all the vegetables and come out with a new meal. So, you know, these small little challenges that we incorporate into our daily lives just to show people how easy it is just to live a little bit more of a plant-based lifestyle. There you go, mushroom bolo, everybody. Why not? Just a little bit more jerky. Why not? Just because we're here. All right, so let's get back to crab cakes. These crab cakes, they're cool now. So what we'll do is we'll mix this farce together. Wow, this looks so delicious. I hope someone does something with this afterwards. So again, what you do is here, you just take a little ice cream scoop and you make little crab cakes, right? Kind of form them. I have some already done here. So we're gonna go ahead and take these and take a little panko in there, a little oil first, get the heat going. Beautiful. And what we're gonna do is just bread these with panko, ever so lightly. Again, there's already panko in there, so you don't want to do too much. But this will help it create that nice crust that we all love from a crab cake. Do a couple of these, just like so. You could also season your panko a little bit more if you want with different spices or what have you. And we're going to do a light sear. A little light sear, and then I'll talk about the delicious sauce that we have to come with it. These are so cool. I don't know if you saw that, but this just looks like a piece of huge lump crab meat right in there. I don't know if you guys see it. It's kind of cool how the lion's mane just really does that. Again, lion's manes are really, really versatile. I've been messing around and making a steak frit with them. Have you guys seen the steak frit preparation out of a lion's mane before? No? It's so cool. We won't do it today, obviously, but if you just take these whole, marinate them like you would with a steak or something like that, and just literally give them a hard, broil or on the grill or a pan sear, they'll really squish down, and you'll condense them. The water moisture will come out, and then you'll get this really beautiful crisps on the outside of them, on both sides, and it'll look exactly like a steak, right? And fries. So like the lion's made steak frit. I want to see it here somewhere at the CIA. Someone needs to do it first here. Chef, someone's got to do it. Boom, do it. I have a good friend, Wicked Foods. He's a good buddy of mine. He's from out of London, Derek, and it was one of the recipes I saw him make, and I was really impressed with it. So, all right, so here we go. We are searing. All right. Don't want to overcrowd your pan. All right, and so the sauce, as a kid, I grew up in my a Spanish restaurant. For those who don't know, I come from a very thick, long line of restaurateurs in my family. I'm from Montreal. Everyone's in the business, so there was no escaping it for me. I tried my hardest, but here I am. And one of the recipes we did at Pepin's, which was my parents' fine dining Spanish restaurant when I grew up, where I worked a lot, was a crab cake with a sauce that I used to like calling gin and juice. I was listening to a lot of Snoop Dogg back then, so I came up with this recipe. This gin and juice sauce. I thought it was so funny. I was like, oh, we're gonna do a gin and juice sauce. So here it is. It's a mustard gin and juice sauce. It's got orange in it, zest. It's got a little bit of capers, some mayonnaise, some gin, some chives. We're just gonna lay that out in the middle here, just like so. Ooh. Try to get some of these crab cakes. But again, like really nice acidic, plays well with the crab cakes. You guys seeing this? This looks like a crab cake. It's amazing. All right, get a nice little sear on both sides. I think I'll plate 3 of these. I wish I could feed this to you guys. So here we go, a little bit of crab cake. Plating, and we'll just take some of these beautiful micros, just put them around the plate. And I think I got a flower to make me look really amazing. Ooh, look at this. Why not? Edible flowers. I don't do much with edible flowers, but I'm not against them. Look how much prettier that just made my plate look. You were right. All right, a little trickle of olive oil just at the end because I'm a Greek guy. Et voila. A little salt. Lion's Mane crab cakes. All right, whoa, we're already set up on this other side over here. How are we doing? Is the energy good over there, everybody? Yeah? I know it's early. You have a question, ma'am?
Yes. Is there another mushroom that you would use
For the
1 second first. So she had asked if there was another mushroom that you could use in this recipe. And I will just say, if anybody else asks any questions for our live stream, just like hold your hand up and I'll run up to you so you can ask it on the microphone so our folks watching that can also hear those. Thank you.
Yeah, so great question. So specifically for the lion's mane one I just made? Yeah, I mean, I think you can have the same results out of the base of this that I'm making. Maybe you could probably try it with a king mushroom. Those mushrooms are a little bit more dense. This lion mane really pulls apart like crab meat, and that's why it makes it such a perfect mushroom to kind of recreate that. But again, like I think, the fun thing about the mushroom kingdom is that there's so many varieties of mushrooms out there, and it allows you to be really playful and have all sorts of different use cases for them. So I would just tell you to stay inspired and try things out. This next one here is the one that I think is crazy cool and amazing. And so we'll jump right into that. Any other questions before I jump into the next? Yep, up there. Yep. Did you hear that one? How's the jackfruit prepared?
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Yeah, I mean, jackfruit, there's nothing much you can do. You got to steam it, tenderize it a little bit, pull it apart. That's how, you could buy canned jackfruit if you want. The problem with that, it has citric acid in it, and it's really hard to get that flavor out of there. You really have to rinse it if you're going to do that. But, I think you could get jackfruit and obviously just poach it and steam them and prepare it that way. Yes, I believe this was fresh jackfruit, yeah.
Yes.
Yes. That's what the recipe said. Yes, ma'am.
I had a question about when you rehydrate the mushrooms after you pack them and everything like that. Do you use water? Are you careful about your water source when you rehydrate them?
Oh, yes, of course, 100%.
Chef Spike, can you repeat the question?
Yeah. The question was about the rehydrating of the mushrooms. We don't take just like tap water or anything like that and rehydrate them. We do it at our co-packer with water that has the right pH. It's good premium water. Yeah. No, I'd have super profits though if I was using tap water. That'd be amazing. All right, so we'll jump into this one. So again, I'll rehash a little bit of the story. I was at the farm in Kenneth Square, Pennsylvania, mushroom capital of the world. Tina, the mycologist, was walking me around, showing me all these different varieties of mushrooms. I came across the yellow oyster mushroom room. If you haven't been in one of these rooms, it's absolutely magical. You got these beautiful pillars of yellow oysters just growing out everywhere. On my way out of that room, Tina was like giggling. She goes, sometimes I take these root balls because there's no use for them, and I take them home, I saute them, and I cook them up like chicken because they taste so good and they're super nutritious. That's all you really have to tell a chef to get excited. A new product. Just looking for my knife. Oh, yeah, there we go. Thank you. So I said, Tina, are you kidding me? She goes, no, I'll send you a case and see what you can do with it. So she sent me a case of these. There's a little fabrication that goes into this, which I'll show you. But this became very quickly one of the most popular items on the plant burger menu. We serve Beyond Meat at our Burger Plus, which is a processed meat, which I think has a place right in this food system. It's the kind of the redoing of processed foods, which really needs to happen because we could save a lot of water, a lot of land, and a lot less carbon emissions by doing that. But then again, the undoing of food, just using whole foods to try to recreate some of our favorite foods. This is where this comes in. So there's a really hard root ball here. So I just kind of cut that out, just like you were gonna do, cauliflower, for instance. Just cut that hard part out, and then these easily just kind of cut. You can see they're very spongy, right? You can kind of just squeeze the moisture out of them. But again, what we do is we tenderize these, we saute them, which I'll do in the pan right now. Let me do one more. Again, just cut that root ball out, because it's just really, really, really tough and inedible. But we get these for a fraction of the price, so a little bit of waste from the root doesn't really matter for us. So again, we take these. Yeah, perfect. And what we do is we'll just saute them, right? And the reason why we do this is to kind of tenderize them first, because they can, and get some of the moisture out of them. The other really cool, innovative thing that we did with Plant Burger, and this specific ingredient is, once we figured out that this is something that we can actually use, we really want to look at this ingredient on how else it can be innovative, right? And Plant Burger, we're not trying to be the next McDonald's, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say I do believe we're the next big fast food concept that just happens to be plant-based. So, for instance, we launched the Save the Bay filet about a month ago on our menu, which is basically like the fish fillet that you know and love from McDonald's, but it's just that much better of a product. We've been working on this McRib. How many of you know the McRib sandwich? Trick question. You shouldn't be knowing McRib. No, just kidding. So, one of the cool things about mushrooms is underneath all these growths of mushrooms, there's the mycelium, right? Which the interconnecting wood wide web, right? Where all this kind of communications happen amongst plants and trees and mushrooms through the mycelium. So lately, there's a great company called Myco out of Denver that takes mycelium. And they take the shiitake mycelium that you grow shiitakes. They ferment the mycelium, and then they turn it into a texturized protein, which means they basically dehydrate it, which allows it to be, kind of like a protein to make analog meats out of. We were able to take this shiitake mycelium, mix it with some of this shredded fruiting body, and really create a McRib sandwich. So we'll be releasing in the next month or so. Yeah, tongs or fingers, sorry. I just get in there with my fingers, everybody. Finger tongs. So yeah, we'll get a little sear on these. Basically, you can see a lot of the moisture coming out. And then what we do is we spice, we add a little spice mixture to them too. Just a little flavor. All right, we'll let those do their thing. But then what we do is we take the nice scored pieces of fruiting body of the mushroom, and we'll just do a breading process. So here we go. We go once in flour, and again, the flour has some spices in there as well. It's seasoned, salt, pepper, a little paprika, a little espinal, a little chili powder. And then you have this little batter. And I like to do them twice because I really want to create that nice crust that you get from a fried chicken sandwich. So we'll just go in there, flip it around, make sure you kind of, the good thing I like about fried chicken is the clumpiness and that leaving a little bit of moisture, so you get these nice little clump balls on your chicken, right? That's how Chick-fil-A does it. So look, just like that, and I just throw it in there. I don't want to be too clean about it. I don't want to leak the liquid off. I want it to be a little bit grimy like that. Oh, this is a good one. Just throw it back in there. So then we'll get ready to sear these. A shallow fry. Same pan. We'll call this a shallow fry for us right now. And then just get it inside. Boom. And we'll fry these up. I think I need one more. No, I think we're good. Enough for a sandwich. You want one? Woo. Cooking lunch today. Here, I think I got one more piece in there, right? I'll give you a real one. Oh, no, you're good. You're good. Okay, great. So these are in here. These are frying up. And now it's time to build the sandwich, which isn't too hard to do. We'll just get the bread here. Do you have an extra pan just to toast the buns? I like toasting buns, guys. Who likes to toast their buns? Got to toast the bun. We have vegan butter here, too, which is amazing that this happens. Great vegan butter out there in the space. Oh, yes, go ahead.
What is your magnet or your batter mixture?
The batter mixture, it's a little bit of flour. It's the spice blend that I had, which I'm not sure if we're posting recipes somewhere. Yeah, we'll be posting the recipe somewhere, but it's basically, it's got paprika, cayenne, a little espinal in there, some garlic powder, some thyme, nice little. And then we just add that into the, use oat milk for the bread. Yeah. And not forget oat milk, that's right. We use a little bit of oat milk, a little bit of flour, and a little bit of the spice mixtures, yeah. Yeah, and you could be really creative on however you want to do your dredge, really, but yes, sir.
So,
pardon?
Have you ever used just egg batter?
Yeah, I've used just egg for a bunch of stuff, yeah. It does work. Yes, their product at this point does work. A year and a half ago, probably not, but they've done a lot of innovation with their stuff. So yeah, absolutely, yeah.
so we actually, this will be the last question because we have to wrap this up for our next presentation, but go ahead.
What kind of mushroom?
Pardon?
She's asking what kind of mushroom you're working with right now.
Right now, this one right here. Yeah. So a yellow oyster mushroom, right, is basically what I'm using, but I'm not using the fruit which you find in the store, the beautiful yellow oyster mushrooms. I'm using the root ball. It's not quite the mycelium, right? So when an oyster mushroom grows, it grows like off of a log, kind of like this, right? And underneath, there's the mycelium. This is kind of a root ball, is what I kind of call it. And then you can see these small things here. This is where the oyster mushrooms, kind of the flowers are, and those get trimmed, hit the market. This usually gets thrown away or composted. So we're using this highly nutritious, delicious, nothing suspicious oyster mushroom.
Okay, so I think, are we ready to plate it?
We could take one more question just because I'm plating, and I know what time's up, but we're here. We're here. We're doing it. Want one more question in the mix?
One more question while he's plating,
One
and
more
then we'll
bonus
go.
question. Yeah, if there's one out there. Top.
Yeah, how about timing of your seasoning? For the mushrooms, as in, salt draws out a lot of water or moisture.
Yeah. Timing, great question. So I am notorious for, listen, I think we should all be. I like to season food throughout many different stages of the recipe, and that's why I'm very conscious on, I don't try to over season, because I think seasoning plays a role throughout cooking. Just think about when you're making your standard mirepoix, right? When you throw your onions in there, you should throw a little salt, right? After you throw your celery, you should throw a little something. Your carrots, just a little something. So I like to build layers. So one, yes, the salt extracts some of the moistures, but some of that salt gets washed away during that. So you'll need to re-season afterwards. Check this out. It's fried chicken, just in mushroom form. Anyways, we're gonna put a nice piece there, and that's it. We're gonna put some butter pickles. I put the sauce over here. We have a green goddess sauce, some pickles, a mushroom, and here you go for all your hard work. She gets to take the first bite, everybody!
So thank you, Chef Spike. That